Hi everybody, it's Beth Helvey with Couture Real Estate. I hope you're doing well today. It is Monday, April 25th, 2022, and I want to go over the March stats with you. Okay, so I presented this on a blog post at the end of last week and it went out in my newsletter, but I want to do this video and go over some of this with you and what it actually means. So for all categories, which is condo and townhomes, which is lumped together, and then single family homes, this is all residential, and in both counties, which is what I follow, Sarasota Manatee County, we saw an actual decrease in properties that sold. So we saw a decrease of 20% to 39% among all those categories. I will post everything so you can see it when I'm done. And that's really interesting. We saw an increase in listings. Yay, we've been looking for that. So listings went up about 2.5% to 6% in most categories. Properties are still selling at about 100% of asking price. There's always those that sell less, there's always those that sell more, but they average out to about 100% of asking price. Days to contract is still low, it's still under 10. And inventory is still less than a month. It's just less than a month at roughly 0.6% of a month or 0.8% of a month, depending on what category and where you are. So we're seeing that sort of stuff has remained the same. What has changed was the amount of properties that closed went down and inventory has come up. And there's a lot of reasons that this could be happening. One of them is interest rates. You've seen it in the news. The interest rates are climbing right now. As of this morning, they were about 5.25%. And that's actually more of a normal interest rate. Our interest rates have been unnaturally suppressed for the last several years. Even before COVID, they were kind of unnaturally suppressed. Now, we were told that we would not see this kind of a rate increase until the end of this year or even beginning of next year, but that change in the interest rates went up anyway. So that has been a little bit of a slowdown for some people in the market. They're realizing that when interest rates go from 3% to 5%, you get less for your money. You get less house for your money. And some people have had to reevaluate. Some people have exited the market for now. And some people have just lowered their expectations of what they're going to get, and they're just going to get less house, okay? So now in Sarasota Manatee County, because we are still very largely a second home market, even though we have a lot more families moving here, we are still largely a second home market, which means that we are seeing a lot of cash sales. Half of my buyers are cash, half of the people who buy my listings are cash. It's not uncommon for half of this to be cash. Most of my people are they're buying a second home or their retirement home or they're moving here full time. I'm not dealing with a lot of investors personally because I know you've seen those headlines in the market as well. But back to the inventory thing, here's what's really interesting about it. We have less properties closing and we have more inventory go up, but we've got less closings. And here's why that's interesting. Now in 2019, we closed in Sarasota and Manatee counties, we closed on over 23,000 properties. In 2020, it was almost 26,000. And in 2021, it was just over 30,000 properties. Those were massive increases. So in those years, especially in 2021, it wasn't necessarily a lack of inventory. It was a huge influx of buyers. A lot of people were buying. A lot of people moved to Florida. Or they changed houses. You know, they upsize or downsize or whatever you want to call it. They changed their properties and either bought here or moved within the state, within Sarasota Manatee County. So when we're talking about seeing a decrease in sales, that's not something to panic about. That's a shift towards what we would consider a normal market or whatever the new norm is going to be. Now, is this really a shift? We won't know for another month. I'd probably even say 2 months. Because, you know, the March stats were out from March, which is when our snowbirds start to go home. And we typically see a little bit of a dip in the market when they go home. And then, of course, we had Easter a couple of weeks ago. We typically get a little slower on Easter, and then we pick back up again. So I would say let's wait and see what April pans out. Let's see what May pans out. And we'll see if there is the beginnings of a shift. And there may very well be. We're seeing more price reductions in the market. We're seeing properties stay on the market a little bit longer. And we're seeing buyers push back. We're seeing buyers say, I don't want to pay that price. I don't want that house at that price. And we're starting to see a little bit of pushback, which we saw after the crash. That happened then too. And then that's when things started to normalize more. Buyers are getting tired. And that's what's going on. So you are a consumer in this market, whether you're a seller or a buyer. If you're a buyer, it's the same thing. You need to make sure you've got your pre-approval ready, or you need to make sure you have your proof of funds ready to write that offer. You need to know, if you have a pre-approval, what that means. What's your monthly payment going to be? What is your buying power? Where are you comfortable? Buying your dream home in Florida doesn't do you any good if you wake up every morning and you're worried about your mortgage. Have those numbers made available to you so that you know that when you get here and you're moved in, you're happy to be here, because that's what we want. That's the end result. Have all that ready. Now, what most sellers are doing, or most listing agents are advising their sellers to do, is to stay on the market for 3 or 4 days. And they'll actually even ask their sellers to be gone for the big chunk in the middle of the day, and they'll just do a string of open houses. Or the sellers will go on vacation. They'll go away for a couple days and let the buyers and their agents have the house, if you will, for 2 or 3 days, so that we can get people in to see it, because people still want to actually physically see properties, okay? And that does mean that when the property hits the market at 6 o'clock in the morning, don't panic. We can still get you in. We can still get you to see it, and you're going to be okay. We'll get you there. Sellers, you still have to make your property as appealing as possible. We've got buyers pushing back right now. And if your property is not presenting very well, either by the photography that's taken, by it being cluttered, by it being dirty, by it smelling like, dogs or cats, buyers are still going to walk in, even in this market, and they're going to devalue your property because of those things. So make sure you're putting your best foot forward. Because this is your home. You want it to show in the best light possible. So that's what we have in a nutshell with the April stats. We're starting to maybe see a change. I don't want to say that we are. I want to see at least 2 more months worth of statistics before we start to think if this is actually going to trend to a little bit of a calming down. So, and I know everybody would like it to be one. So if you have any questions, let me know. You can post it in the comments. You can message me or DM me. I will post my stats in the video comments below this so that you can take a look at it for yourself. It's a beautiful day outside. It is in the upper 80s. It is gorgeous. If you have the opportunity to get some vitamin D, I encourage you to do so. Wear your sunscreen and drink a lot of water. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.